started without, yeah. I apologize to everybody. East-west traffic is unbelievable, and so I apologize for being late.
So we need a better public transit system.
I was just going to suggest that. Yeah, that was my next line. And I was listening on the radio. Places around the country are talking about raising taxes on themselves to do the things we were trying to do with Greenlight. So maybe eventually it'll happen. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And is there any public comment? I don't see anybody here. So let's talk about the minutes. Any additions, corrections, changes to the minutes? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the first item on our agenda is Henry with wheelchair restraints.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On page 8 of your packets, we're going to revisit an action item which was approved back in June by the committee for the purchase of wheelchair restraint upgrade systems, and at the time it was approved to purchase 46. If you recall, the total amount of the grant that PSTA received was $343,000, and the committee approved $242,000 of that total grant for the purchase of the 46 we originally requested. That left $101,000 of the grant, total grant funding remaining. At the time, it was $101,000 was possibly going to be used to utilize outside contractors to perform the upgrades. However, at the request of and recommendation of Commissioner Eggers, we did go back within the last 2 months and look at all of the buses from newest to oldest, and did get a number of other buses from newest to oldest that could also benefit from the work. Also, in discussion with my internal maintenance staff, we did find that our own technicians were qualified and had the technical ability to perform the installations themselves. And we could also do it cheaper than what outside contractors would charge us to do so. So therefore, the action item in front of you is to request that the remaining $101,000 of the grant be used to purchase approximately 19 more of the securement kits, which will allow us to install these for model year buses 2009 on back to 2006, which need them, which are our legacy buses. 2010 through 2015 we did look at. Those are our newest buses, and those securement systems are in excellent shape at this point. The revised financials are on page 9 of your packet, which show the revisions. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move approval for the consent agenda. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Henry. Okay. Chris and Sandy are going to talk to us about Direct Connect expansion contracts.
Y'all should have a updated map that Clarissa handed out to you. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Direct Connect expansion, and we are asking as an action item for you all to recommending approval of the group of contracts that are involved in the $100,000 from which this entire program, all contracts together, can pull money as a pool of money to make this program a success. The contract, what we're asking for is a 2-year contract for not to exceed $100,000 that will include contracts all partner together with Uber. Lyft is now going to be involved. This is something that came in a couple weeks ago. United Taxi, Care Ride, and Wheelchair Transport Services as well, which is a longstanding local wheelchair provider here in Pinellas County. They are looking over the contract right now to come in as well. So this would be a recommendation to approve all of these contracts together to afford to bill this single $100,000. So I'll give you, again, a little bit of background on this program. We launched this back in February, and it was originally designed for a 6-month pilot to demonstrate the ability for first mile, last mile solutions, partnering with Uber, United Taxi, and Care Ride. And us being the first transit agency in the country to successfully put a program like this in a place where we were able to subsidize rides for people to be able to get to either the Pinellas Park Transit Center or a bus stop that was nearby the Walmart in Pinellas Park. And it was a tremendous success. We have garnered an amazing amount of national attention in a time when using Uber and Lyft and these technologies to partner with transit agencies to create solutions is really, right now, really peaking as a concern and issue for transit agencies across the country. And PSTA has really been recognized as leading the way. Since then, we've seen SEPTA and San Diego take our model and implement it in their own agencies. And again, we continue to get phone calls every week from people interested. I have been very fortunate to have the opportunity to be invited to numerous conferences and panels to talk about our program. Cassandra just presented on it at APTA Annual. Brad's presented at a couple conferences, and it's just been beyond our expectations in how it's been received nationwide by agencies. So with that, seeing the success that we've garnered out of our small pilot area, our idea here is to expand this to locations throughout the county, where we have placed strategic locations that are not destinations for people to be able to connect to more of our core routes. A good example is right here at PSTA. We have the bus stop out here where we have multiple routes coming in. It's an opportunity for us to capture around here a lot of commuters from Caroline. We have a good industrial and commercial land uses around here where people now have the opportunity to take advantage of our Route 4 and 59 coming here at 15-minute frequency, and people will be able to then take an Uber or a Lyft or however they choose to be able to go from our bus stop here to their business for a subsidized cost. The model that we're moving this from, originally the pilot program was that PSTA was subsidizing rides within the small pilot area in Pinellas Park, where we would maximize our subsidy at $3 and matching the cost for the rider. You either had to begin or end at any one of the 2 locations in that small pilot area. And this concept will still exist for here. So we're talking about people either had to begin or end at one of these starred locations. And PSTA is going to pay for up to the first $5 of the ride for them to be able to go to or from one of these locations to hopefully their house, or be able to provide them with an opportunity to better get access to work. The locations in which these stars are located, again, them not being destinations, many of them are really right in the middle of routes that are leveraging large gaps in service where there's residential areas where it's difficult for people to, long distances for them to access these routes, and this will give them the opportunity to, if they take the ride to the star, it's not a Publix, it's not a Walmart, it's not something that they would be going to otherwise ride a bus. And that's been part of the strategy in putting those locations there. I think one of the things we wanted to highlight here, out of this, we've really learned a lot about the need for marketing and outreach in this, and capturing people's attention and how to use it, and really taking advantage of the opportunity and solving a problem and trying to get more riders into the system. That's ultimately the purpose of this. And doing that, we're developing a marketing strategy right here, using the PSTA stop and leveraging the opportunity of having right here in a very close distance Carillon, and having the routes 4 and 59 at 15-minute frequency, and looking at really marketing this in the Carillon area to where we can try to really capture some commuter routes or commuter riders that otherwise were not riding the system prior. And that's a strategy that we are going to really hone right here locally, and then expand to places like East Lake, where there's really large gaps in service, some of the places in some of the western areas of the county. One of the star locations we just are still putting in here is down in South St. Pete. There's a large gap in here. While there's great bus coverage, we're looking to, this number 22 is not listed in your table. This is sort of tentative as to exactly what the final location is going to be. But we are, here in the next day or two, we're really doing a lot of demographic analysis and looking at land use and that sort of thing, and how we can maximize the final location. With that, all of our contracts that we had, the parties are excited to be involved, and everybody is looking forward to seeing how this is going to progress moving forward. Any questions?
Any current questions? Go ahead.
If you have somebody who is, say he's on 19 and Bryant Dairy, up in the middle there, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 stars there where he could go to. How do they decide which star he is? Can he say, I want to go to this one or that one? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So the advantage of us providing the subsidy up front is that we know how many rides, first of all, that we can give. If we're going to max our subsidy out at $5, we know that affords us 20,000 rides, no matter what. So if people want to go, if they're here and they can choose any one of these stars, the minimum ride for an Uber and a Lyft right now is about $5.95. So if you get in an Uber and you go 10 feet or about 3 miles, it doesn't really matter. You're going to pay $5.95. So what the person, one of the strategies in having the distances apart here is that somebody can get to a bus stop for about $1 that they're going to pay. And using the experience that we've had, that the vast majority of people are choosing Uber over a taxi, or in this case, it'll be Uber or Lyft. So if somebody wants to go to a further star and they're willing to pay more, that is on them. But again, we stop our subsidy, our match at the $5. But regardless of how far they go, they have to end at one of the starred locations. And the technology is built in for it to know that you've completed a valid trip, that you have not left Pinellas County, and that you are within 400 feet of one of the locations. And we designated a buffer of 400 feet, and really looking at ensuring that the driver has a safe place to drop off the passenger. Obviously, it's not safe to just drop someone off on the side of the road. Most all of these locations, in fact, all of these locations within 400 feet do have safe places for people to get out, whether it be a little office park.
Okay, so what I was asking is, if the guy wants to go to these different places, if he wants to go way up north, you'll charge him extra, but these other 5 places, which would be, seem about the same amount, there wouldn't be any difference there?
No, and whatever route is best serves him to get to, it affords him the opportunity to get to multiple routes. If the 18 is what he needs to get to work, and that's, if he's right here, it's cost him $1 to get to the 18, it'll cost him $1 to get to the 19. Down here on just north of Tyrone, I forget what route that is, but yeah, they can choose what star they want to go to.
Okay, my second question is, we have $100,000 set for this.
Yes, sir.
What if, after 6 months, we spend $100,000?
That would be great because we're proving that people are using it. But the $100,000 is the level at which we have to come back to you all and ask for more money.
Okay, so do we have a place we can get the money?
That is a good leader's question.
Well, theoretically, if we really hit the $100,000 in 6 months, I'd be shocked, but
Yeah.
it will mean that a lot more people are riding the bus and paying theoretically more fares, and we will have more money. But that'll be a
Mr. Hager?
grading process.
Yeah, first of all, I think, so we're kind of looking instead of the first mile, last mile, like almost for $1 each way. First 3 miles, last 3 miles, because you can almost get to a stop and go 3 miles and just pay $1 because you're subsidizing.
In this
that
case,
$5.
correct.
And so it really gives a little more latitude for our rider to get to places.
Absolutely.
The one thing I was thinking about, and I was thinking, of course, not necessarily to beat the system, but, and I'm not even sure, even if you do, that it's a big negative, but like, if I'm living at my house, we talked about this yesterday a little bit, and you have a 3 mile radius to one of those stars, like, I'm thinking of going into downtown Dunedin, who now is gonna be charging for parking. So you could take a ride to that star, and then that's presumably to get on a bus. But then you could have Uber pick you up there and take you downtown. So you could really miss a bus and use Uber for $2. I mean, is that
Yes,
right?
and-
There's some instances that might work out like that.
Yes, and we're very aware of that going into this. We are working very closely with Uber right now and Lyft as well in bringing these things to our attention. With United Taxi and the wheelchair providers, the drivers are aware that they're taking one of these rides. So that is a much more manageable person-to-person thing to control. The technology that Uber and Lyft are, we're working very closely with them to be able to do is time limits on getting to these star locations, where if you get there, that you're not gonna be able to, that same person is not gonna be able to take another ride for, say, 30 minutes. And
Yeah,
that is.
I'm not even sure, I was making just the observation that it's a
Right.
bad thing. I mean, I think in the long run, I think it makes people more aware of public transportation, and those folks more than likely aren't your transit riders anyway, if they're just kind of playing games with it. And maybe, they'll start to see the logic of the system and how it works ideally.
That would be great, yeah.
So I'm not sure that that we need to figure out all these ways to fight it. I was just wondering if that thought process, if you considered that. So.
Well, I think ultimately, there was, when we first came up with these ideas at Pinellas Park, one of the thoughts was, why don't we just give Uber rides anywhere in the pilot area? But,
You take it to its extreme, yeah, that's what it is, right?
I think it's important for us to maintain the purpose of this is putting more people on transit. So at the very least, maintaining connectivity to the service. And that's what this does. And you're right, there's going to be instances where people will find advantages around. That is certainly not our intent of this. But if it makes people more aware of that.
Yeah, we're just thinking of unintended things that happen. We've run into that already once, and so, things like that come up.
I mean, the idea that you suggested yesterday, I don't think we had thought of. I think Chris has done a great job. We had thought of the idea of, and I think Uber has already figured out a way to prohibit going from star to star, from one star to another star.
Right.
But and then this idea of a time limit so that you can't get off an Uber and get onto another Uber at the same star is maybe, like you said, maybe not a dramatic
sure.
penalty, but maybe a little bit of hindrance to try to encourage to use the bus.
We'll just go with another couple, and then that's the other,
Oh, and then have them
Yeah,
do
then
the
they
Uber?
can do that,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Names.
whatever.
There's always ways around it.
You can't create a fail-safe system. It's,
Right.
But I do think the idea of using Uber like this is just great for folks.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I had a very similar question to Commissioner Eggers, is that I was just thinking in my head how somebody would kind of game the system that well, that Star is right next to a shopping plaza that I need to go to, so I'm gonna get a personalized taxi right there, subsidized by PSTA, and I'm only gonna pay $1. So in that sense, there's no real guarantee that it will necessarily increase ridership. You know, I'm just thinking, should there be, maybe not now, but in the future, as we see how this plays out, should there be a requirement that you buy a bus ticket, a fare, that goes with it?
I think ultimately, when the smart card technology really gets, moves forward and we have really worked that technology into our system, ultimately, and many agencies are looking at this, how do we incorporate a seamless ride transition for people to be able to go straight from an Uber into a bus, and then when they get off the bus, the Uber is there and it's all paid on their smart card. That is ultimately sort of an inevitable goal that will eventually happen, that most agencies are looking at. But, you know, with these locations here, it's going to be nice in this instant. At the Pinellas Park Transit Center, one of the things we realized, it was hard for us to correlate the Uber rides to increased ridership because there's so much at that stop. These stops are not so much those hubs. So we'll be able, it'll be nice for us to be able to work with all of our partners and then telling us how many people are going to these locations and then correlating it to increased ridership at those stops. And, you know, that will, long term, that will allow us to really sort of hone this model, if you will, in deciding where are the best places. And I think we've done a very good job at locating these where it's just not worth people's effort to use it to go grocery shopping. You know, I can't think of, but besides Tarpon and Huey, which we just geographically, we had to have one way up there, and that made the most sense. And even then, it's a big hike to get to Walmart there. It's, I mean, for somebody in the middle of summer to carry
You wouldn't want to do
it. I wouldn't want to.
Well, I appreciate you explaining all that. I think this is a great thing, but I just want, we should monitor it because we as we've seen with the TD program, you know, kind of twice now. You know, we had a big surge of TD fares about, you know, year and a half, 2 years ago, that kind of created, which was good, we were meeting a demand, but it created a financial situation we had to address. And then we had the Pinellas County issues here just recently, so I just think we need to kind of watch this and make sure that, you know, we're not spending a lot of money and not getting the return on the ridership that and fare increases that we need.
Yeah.
That's the only kind of caution that I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. This agenda item is to approve for Uber.
Multiple contracts.
Well, that was the question. That's what you're saying, but that's not what the agenda item is. The attachment to it is the contract for Uber. You have other contracts that are.
So that's the sample contract. All the contracts are the same for all parties. So my understanding is that, and Sangeeta's confirming that, that's the exact same contract that everyone is signing. It just won't say Uber, it'll say United Taxi, it'll say Care Ride.
We can go ahead for the board meeting next week, if you recommend this, to include all 5 contracts
Well,
in there.
either include the contracts or at least on the agenda item indicate which contracts you're
Exactly,
you're signing.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
Last night.
The other question I had, Mr. Chairman, is, like, I'm basically at the corner of Curlew and 19. If I'm going to downtown Clearwater, can I get a ride to the Park Street terminal in downtown Clearwater and get $5 off my Uber trip?
You can.
And walk over to City Hall 2 blocks away?
In your instance, yes, you can. And
How
you know,
about Mr. Scott's instance? Can he make the same trip? Yeah.
you know, there's certainly a couple locations in here where it just made sense for us to put it at a couple hubs, and Tarpon and Huey's one example. But downtown Clearwater, you know, we Park Street, we didn't put it on Clearwater Beach. There had to be one in Clearwater, Park
Right.
Street made sense as
Well,
opposed to putting it on.
Clearly,
Clearly
it's the hub that you connect
Yeah.
other routes to. I just want,
There are some, you and your fellow city council members, hopefully will take advantage of it, try it out, and the other city workers there, but at least our goal is to not put it on Clearwater Beach, at least. In talking with Uber, that's where the demand is
yeah.
for their trips.
Well, the other option is, well, it would be closer to go down to downtown Dunedin and then go,
Take the Jolly Trolley.
yeah.
Yeah, we have one at Patricia and Main Street in Dunedin that I believe has access to 3 routes at this point, within a couple blocks walking distance.
So actually, I could take Uber to PSTA terminal.
Yeah, for these meetings.
Yeah.
Good.
When Uber gets an elevator or a system or a helicopter system, then Mr. Scott and I can get Okay, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I think this is very exciting because it's innovative and it hopefully will bring additional ridership, which I think is great. But my question is, if we're subsidizing $5 a ride and the no discount fare is $2, we're not making money off of this deal. If I'm paying $5 to get somebody to the bus stop and they're going to spend $2 on a bus ride, we're not making money on the deal. So hopefully we're doing this for the purpose of getting additional riders that are not currently riding. And that's the whole idea behind it.
Absolutely.
Well, because theoretically, if we get a new rider who
Right.
can now access the transit because of a Uber or taxi ride for
Right.
$1, we'll get that extra $2.25.
Right, okay. The second thing is, do we have a limited number of potential uses per time frame, per week, per month, whatever? Or could this theoretically be available to a commuter that's a 5-day-a-week person that's going to get $10 worth of subsidy because they're going to ride an Uber to the station, ride the bus to wherever they work, then get on the bus right back to the station again and take another Uber ride home?
That is something that Uber and Lyft very easily can put into place, is to put the limit of the number of rides per month that somebody can use. And I think, again, because they're individual account-based users, it's something that Uber can assist us in monitoring to see if that is an issue. When it is, then it's literally something they can just turn on, and perhaps we take the approach the way we do with the TD late shift, where we limit it to 23 times a month. That being the number of times that somebody usually works a month. So the opportunity to turn on a mechanism to control that is there, but at the onset of this, it will be available to anybody as many times, and
Okay.
we'll see how that works.
Okay, and then the other issue is, if you would refresh me and possibly other members of the committee, Uber is invoicing us for the $5.
Yes.
The money is not changing hands where we're getting the individuals putting the entire Uber ride on their account, and then we're reimbursing $5 to the individual. The individual's only being invoiced on his or her account for the difference between the $5 and what the actual cost is.
That's exactly it. And with all parties involved, that's how it will work.
What questions?
Yeah, how do our riders find out where these stars are located?
So we are, with Cindy's help, with the marketing team, we are developing a very comprehensive marketing plan. Uber and Lyft are very involved as they were with the original Direct Connect. They have a lot of marketing resources. So we are, we have plans in place to do some marketing. We're looking at possibly integrating this into one bus away so that people will have a way to see it in our app. Certainly on the website, people will be able to use it. And then, again, initially, as we will market this directly to Carillon, that being a very quick and easy way for us to look at a bunch of commuters that currently probably do not use the system, and be able to take that outreach model and apply it other places throughout the county. So.
Anybody else? Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
I'm wondering if we would be best to advertise this as a pilot or a limited time, just to, if this thing goes wild, and it's not making the connections to transit. I see the Pinellas Park Transit Hub as a different kind of a hub than Park Street. Maybe we could get all the county employees taking Uber if they live within a $5 ride back and forth to work every day. If it's within a $5 ride to the beach from Park Street, we could get people just parking in downtown Clearwater and then taking Uber out to the beach, saving the parking on the beach, which it would not be utilizing the transit enhancing it. I think that, Joe, that you were looking to.
Well, we can certainly call it a pilot. You know, this is sort of cutting edge stuff, and I think, you know, Chris has done an amazing job of working with these technologies and figuring out. We're constantly changing the programs all the time, and we find out that some guy figure out a way to game the system and take a black limousine in the middle of the night, and Chris is on top of it, and then he gets in the morning and he yells at the guy and says, "I'm canceling you, don't do that," and then he calls Uber and tries to change the whole app to make that not possible. I think that'll be the case here. We'll find out, oh my gosh, all 5,000 employees of Pinellas County have figured out a way to take a $1 Uber ride to downtown Clearwater and then get there, or all 7 county commissioners are suddenly doing it. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Let's cancel them, or let's take away that star. I think we will find. I don't know. Maybe some stars will really work out well, some won't. It is, the whole key of this is marketing, and the way we communicate this to the public. I think it is going to have to be a very tailored outreach effort, almost star by star. Like the one right here at PSTA, the idea is really to attract Carillon non-riders that have jobs there. There's really no good bus service. There is a bus that goes through Carillon, but it's very low frequency. There's a lot of high frequency routes that come right here to the PSTA, and we're, you know, definitely less than 3 miles from Carillon here. It would be better for them not to ride the 58, but to take the Uber over here and catch one of the high frequency routes. But you know, downtown Clearwater is a different dynamic. Really, the idea is just get people to downtown Clearwater who are going to the beach, and then they hop on the Suncoast Beach trolley to get over there to the beach. I think we'll just have to kind of see how it goes. We'll have to figure out, you know, you run a risk if you market something and saying, well, this might go away, we're not really sure, then that sends maybe the wrong message that people won't even try it. But I think we did okay with the marketing on the Pinellas Park pilot. Folks tried it and they didn't really, I don't think, worry about it going away or anything, but so we'll have a little bit of latitude to modify this as we go along, I think.
Well, even if it just said, subject to change on the app.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
To provide for some of that flexibility as we've
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner?
I'm sorry, I know you, I apologize for stepping out. Home under construction, so emergency situation. I'll apologize for that. So, again, there's two thoughts that come to mind real quickly. One is that, so $10 is what we're, on any one trip, that we're eligible for subsidizing that trip. Meaning on the front end, on the back end, right?
Yeah.
Up to $5 per. So you're talking about, hey, if I'm going to work, and we're doing it the right way, that we're paying $10 to somebody who may have a TD pass, may not, may have a regular pass, but we're hoping that people will now start to buy those regular passes.
Yeah.
And this would augment their trip. So on an $11 rider, on a TD rider, we also could be hitting them with $10 every day on the way to work. That if they're going to work and they're doing that first, traveling to the spot and getting the bus and back, that's $5, $10, $15, $20 round trip.
No, $5 is the cap on this program per trip, so $10.
Oh, per trip. So that includes both ends, the first mile and last mile on both ends?
Oh, you're right. If they took an Uber from their house to the bus and then took an Uber from their destination to the
To their office.
to their office, that would be $10, right? Theoretically, then in the afternoon they go home the same way, $20.
I mean, again, I just putting it in context. Again, that's a big number. On an $11 TD pass, and that TD pass is for the month. So you're talking the $20 per day times 20 days a month, right? I mean, if they were using this to go to work.
Yeah.
So anyway, just I think that's something we just need to be thinking about in the back of our minds. This is a very expensive way to go about it. The other thing was to utilize this Uber. Have you thought about that maybe people should have to have a bus pass?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Scott
Is that
asked
what you
that
guys said
question.
while I was out? I apologize. Okay. So that, it's really for the bus riders that need
Yeah.
that first mile, last mile, or for new people that say, oh, I'll get a bus pass now because now I know how to get that first mile and last mile. It makes sense to me to ride the bus.
Yeah, and Chris, I think, actually answered the key to that probably is technology. When we get the Flamingo smart card system up and running, and we have a database of riders, of TD, and all kind of bus pass holders on that smart card, that then we can upload to Uber and say, and cross match, oh, Brad Miller is an Uber rider and he has a bus pass, check, or not. Right now, we don't have that. We don't have a database of riders.
But even if I decided that I was going to be that rider, I mean, even if I bought a $70 pass, I mean, you're still paying that $20 a day for me to go to work. Right?
Yes.
I mean, and come home. So, I mean, so to that end, how much are we spending on the pilot program right now? How did that work out?
We have budgeted and we have capped this program
No,
at
the one we just-
$100,000.
No, the one we just did in Pinellas Park. So I'm wondering how much it's being taken advantage of.
Oh, okay. So the one in Pinellas Park, we budgeted $40,000, and we spent about less than $5,000.
For
For
the
6
time period.
months.
So you had 40,000 for 6 months, and we spent.
$4,000, I think it was.
So whether it wasn't.
It was fairly low actual usage. I mean, it was only 1 star, right? So it was only
The
one.
logic of this is interesting, and I think it worries me from the dollar standpoint that we have just, again, we have a situation where you might be, like you said, very surprised that in 6 months, people come back and say, we got a problem. The problem is that it's $5, $20 a day is a lot of money to
It
get
is.
me to work and back. We're giving it. And if you're lucky, they have a $70 pass per month. So, I mean, I just think, as more I think about this,
Well,
I
yeah.
like the theory behind it, but I think the money that we're talking about is pretty significant.
I mean, I can tell you from this is my own personal mind here, and I'm fairly into public transportation, if you hadn't noticed. But I live about 3/4 of a mile away from a good route that's gonna go right to PSTA, Route 4. And I know I should walk there back and forth, but, it's got a massive hill for Florida, so it's kind of a pain. I could take this Uber every day. I could not fix my car. I could not have my car and rely on transit. PSTA would be subsidizing $10 a day, because it goes right to PSTA, so I wouldn't use it on
So you
the
would use it on
inside.
the backside.
But it would be a way that I could get rid of a car, and technically be a non-rider riding public transportation every day. That's the goal of trying to attract new riders and other riders, like up in East Lake, where we don't have service anymore, as you well know. Have those folks have the ability to access the transit system. This is a concept. If we blow through the $100,000 quickly, we will obviously have to change it and have to rethink that. Although, by then, maybe there's different things about the apps and new technology that's out there. Maybe it can change again. I'm sure it will keep changing.
I was just worried about that unintended consequences, and we haven't really thought through this enough, but we'll see how,
Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, once again, my comments are very similar to Commissioner Eggers. Is the more we're talking about this, the more I'm just thinking of the $20 per day situation and the opportunities for what you just explained of being a transit rider without really being a transit rider, or just really getting a huge subsidy and not really ever taking a bus. In looking at the summary here, so is this $100,000 in addition to the $40,000?
No, it is really $96,000 plus it's $100,000 minus the $4,000 we spent from the $40,000 pilot. So it includes the leftover money from the Pinellas Park. So you're only approving really an additional 60 that you've already approved.
60.
Okay, so
That's
60,
not
so we got
significant.
basically 96 left, and we're taking the original $3 subsidy up in it to 5.
36 left from the first year, from this current plan.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're upping it from 3 to 5.
From three to 5.
Right, now, this is gonna be an action item next week, or are we just doing this for informational?
This is an action item to approve these, 4 contracts. 4 contracts,
Right,
up
and
to a
then-
maximum of 100K.
Okay, but my question is, there's 6 of us here, and we just spent half an hour talking about this. If we got 15 people, this is gonna take a day and a half.
I think that's a
And
great
so I'm just trying to ask, how we're gonna schedule this into the meeting next week, because this is a major issue.
I second that, which I think we ought to have discussion at this next meeting, and then take a vote the following meeting. And if the board wants to take a vote, fine, but I think this is a significant enhancement, change, whatever you want to call it, that really needs some discussion. So I would certainly suggest it as an informational item, but if you want to say action, fine, but I wouldn't be surprised if you table it for more discussion. Or postpone it. I would certainly support it.
I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Commissioner Wilbur.
Thank you. I could have missed this, but what is the term of this agreement? Is it 6 months or?
It is 2 years, not to exceed 100,000. So it could.
I don't think so, that's
And that's, and that's with all 5, that would be with all 5?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so how should we proceed here? Do we need a motion to bring it to next week's meeting as an informational item or discussion item? Or?
Sure, I mean, you could recommend to put this on the agenda as an informational item for next month, and then for this month, next week.
Next week, right.
And then for action item at the October meeting, that would be perfectly fine.
It's such an exciting idea, and it could dramatically improve ridership, but if we raise this many questions, I just have a feeling it's gonna be very time-consuming when everybody raises a series of questions. And I think, Chris, possibly one of the things you could do is if you could incorporate into the briefing the answers to a lot of the questions we've raised, so maybe that would
Get the answer.
cut off some of the redundancy of the discussion, because, I'm sure that some other people will come up with the same questions that we raised, and if we could cut them off with the pass, I think that would benefit time-wise the meeting next week.
One quick question, so staff's brought it forward as an action item, and our committee is suggesting it as an information. So I guess from a procedural standpoint, we could still move it forward as an action item with the Finance Committee's recommendation as an informational item. I mean, we're only one committee, and that way, if the board all of a sudden came up with the green light that we all got excited about and said, oh, now we get it, we could still vote on it. I don't know, how do you do it procedurally?
I mean, we put items either in the action item category or the informational item, but the board at the meeting has the option to
They
take
can
an
move either
action. If someone makes a motion in a second and they votes, for whatever motion they want to make related to this item, even if it's on an informational item as recommended by the Finance Committee.
Well, I would move it that we move this item forward to the board as an informational item, period. That's what I would say.
Okay.
I would say.
Does everybody agree with that? Does that make sense? Okay, I think we have a consensus that that's what we'd like to do, and to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to fully comprehend what we're trying to do here. And it's a great idea, and we've had significant success on a small scale with Pinellas Park, but on a fairly large countywide scenario, there's a good possibility we're going to have some ideas, some crafty ideas that we didn't anticipate, and so we need to make sure that we move forward with adequate understanding of what the ramifications are of this many variables.
I've got one more question.
Sure.
For the Pinellas Park area, did we do some sort of an analysis of how these people were using it? Did they take it away and then take it back, or how did it work in the Pinellas Park?
With the data that was provided to us from Uber, which is very limited because of trade secret and other proprietary stuff associated with dealing directly with Uber, it was hard for us to tell exactly where exactly people are going with it. That being said, what we did see was a continual growth every week of people using it, and after a marketing outreach effort of people on the ground educating people as they came off the bus, in 1 week we tripled the number of people that were using it, and that's really how we sort of developed the importance of this marketing and outreach strategy from it. Moving forward with countywide and the opportunity to hopefully get some people using the taxis, more opportunity for the taxis, that's data, that's trip level data that we can get. Right now, we don't get that level of data from them, unfortunately. But again, with locations that aren't so much hubs, we at least had the opportunity to better correlate ridership with usage of these stops by this program. So I hope that answers pretty much.
One last item, and then let's move on this. But, take the workers at Raymond James at Carolina as an example. Are we assuming that each person's getting an Uber ride, or can they do a sharing situation where there's more people simultaneously riding over to?
They can absolutely do a sharing situation, you know, again, that's from the standpoint of using the app, that actually benefits us, because instead of paying $5 for each of the four people are riding all at once for $5. And the cool thing about the app is if all four of them have an Uber app, they themselves can split the fare amongst themselves. And I think that's part of that strategy that we look at moving forward and showing. I mean, if you have four people in a car, you're splitting it up $1, that's a quarter, and we just moved four people for $5 instead of one for $5. So, you know, there's ways in which we have to approach it and trying to maximize how the utility of what's being offered. And I think if you can put four people in an Uber, that saves us $15 if you get it that way. So
Okay.
that could be a strategy moving
All
forward.
right. Okay, thank you. So we'll move that forward as an informational item for next week.
Thank you.
Okay, Ross Silvers, thank you very much, Chris. Great job. Thank you. A lot of creativity there. Thank you. We're also going to talk about community transportation coordination coordinator renewal. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ross Silvers, Mobility Manager from PSTA. This is really just a quick administrative matter. We have been the Community Transportation Coordinator for Pinellas County for 5 years now. And every 5 years, the State TD Commission requires that you renew your status as CTC. So that's what this is about. In order to do that, we have to basically write a letter of application over to the MPO, now Forward Pinellas, and then they send that off to the state sends it back to the local coordinating board, and they send it back to the state, it has to go to the state commission. There's a lot of different boards and committees it has to go through, and so that's why we want to allow plenty of time to allow all that to happen without being a rush. So, and as you all know, as CTC, that enables us as PSTA to be able to apply for the grants that we get from the state. We now get two different grants. We get the trip and equipment grant to provide the TD service, and we also are now getting the mobility enhancement grant, which provides us for the TD late shift and urgent day services. So between the two of them, it's now over $3 million. When we first took over this, it was under $2 million coming to the county. So we're able to bring in a lot more dollars for the county and bring in a lot more services. So that's the request today, is just an action item for you to recommend to the board that we reapply to become CTC for another 5 years.
Questions? Mr. Jones.
Well, not a question, I would just move to recommend to the board that we approve this item and place it to be on consent.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Russ. Okay, don't go away, Russ, you're up next.
Well, he's, yeah.
Unless you're going to do it all, Brad?
I think we'll do it together.
Okay. Pinellas County Human Services Client Transportation.
Okay, I think we had a good discussion a month ago about the issue that PSTA encountered with this partnership we have with Pinellas County. And I wanted to give just an update. This is an informational item to you about where things stand as of today. At Commissioner Egger's suggestion, I did invite the county staff to either attend our committee meeting this morning, or I'm going to give the same presentation to the planning committee in an hour. I got a message that they have a some kind of a seminar or symposium thing scheduled, but they will watch it online and give me any feedback to where they are. Just a little rehash of where we are. A year ago, August of 2015, PSTA staff and county staff at the Department of Health and Human Services in the county negotiated a $20,000 UPass program, or that's how it was devised. And honestly, based on the research that we have done in looking back at how that program and the documents that were produced back then, I think both sides the original concept was for 100 to 150 clients of Pinellas County, a very specific group of clients at about 100 and 150. And the $20,000 was the approximate revenue that PSTA had received over the last several years for those 100 to 150 clients. In September, a month later, actually at the very end of August, the county purchased $56,000 worth of bus passes from PSTA, very much like a whole bunch of nonprofits and other entities buy bus passes from us each month. But they bought, these passes were not monthly passes for these same clients. These were $56,000 worth of daily passes, mostly daily passes and weekly passes. And when PSTA staff questioned, said, maybe we need to revise the agreement, we were told that no, these passes, these dailies, were not for the same people. They were for what the county calls their mobile medical units, which I guess maybe were mobile units, and now maybe they're a clinic. They may not be mobile, but they're incentives to get people to come into their county health places to get care. In January of 2016, the contract was signed. It was not our standard contract. It was a modified version of our regular agreement because it included a new clause that I'm calling a right-sizing clause. At the end of each year of the contract, there would be an assessment done of the number of users of the program, and there would be an ability for either party, especially PSTA, to quote-unquote right-size the value of the contract based on actual usage. There was concern back then that maybe they wouldn't even use $20,000 worth. Well, that has certainly not been the case. After the contract was then signed, I think there was a change to the scope of the project in the springtime. We got there was a bunch of correspondence, but for a lot of different factors, I would summarize: changeover in some key county staff, a delay in the rollout of their blue card, their card program, from January to June 1st, and perhaps PSTA giving during the delay in the card program during the springtime. PSTA continued to provide the county with bus passes for these folks and the mobile medical unit people, and maybe the communication was not understood exactly that those passes were, maybe it was viewed by the county, I don't know, that meant that thousands of more people could ride. We're not sure. Just a couple days before the Blue Card program was issued, the county purchased 500 stickers to place on the blue cards. The original idea was it was going to be just a regular blue card, and then folks that they wanted to be able to ride for free were going to be placed on a sticker. And that 500 allotment was enough, they said, for 18 months worth of the program. So perhaps there was a change sometime, again, after the contract was signed, and the county was under the belief that about 500 people would be using the program sometime around May. In addition, PSTA staff got correspondence from the county in April of this year that said that the county had decided that they wanted this program to cover all Pinellas County clients. That Probably should have sent a bigger trigger off than it did. We didn't understand that exactly, I don't think, but obviously there was some change in scope. And then on June 1st, 3,500 passes blue cards started being distributed. Clearly a difference. I am pleased that over the last month, since August 5th, we have been working very closely, and we're very grateful to the county to working with us to transition the blue card program back to the transportation disadvantaged discounted bus pass program. So the blue cards are no longer accepted on the PSTA buses as they were during the summer. As of Labor Day, now each of those blue card holders has been going and getting a free to them transportation disadvantaged bus pass at the window. This has averted the concern that we had that we were going to be losing the state transportation disadvantaged grant funds, because now we're tracking them as TD riders, TD bus pass riders, just like other TD bus pass riders. Just a little bit of background on the way our U-Pass program is designed, and has been very successful with nearly 10 other contracts we have with St. Pete College, USF St. Pete, P-Tech, City of St. Petersburg, and a number of other smaller ones. The way that program works is it's designed to be a win-win situation for both the university or entity and PSTA. I didn't probably get the best little graphics here, but this is my attempt. Before the UPass program exists, we have riders. That's these three guys here. They pay PSTA money to ride the bus. That entity, like St. Pete College or P-Tech, also has a bunch of non-riders that don't ride the bus. They are in these cars, so they don't pay us anything. After we sign the agreement with UPass, those non-riders start riding the bus with their ID badge. The PSTA doesn't get a full fare for each of those new riders, but we do get all the money we were getting plus a little bit more. In most cases, we're getting a little bit more money than we were before. So we break even or even do a little bit better, and a lot more people ride. The difference with the county program is it's a lot more complex. But the bottom line was that most of the new riders weren't driving cars, they were already riding the bus. So before the program with Pinellas County started, an average of 94 people a month were riding under the program that we designed this contract for. And they were paying us $20,000 in fares. Or the county was paying their $20,000 worth of fares for those 94 people. Additionally, there were 2,000 approximately other bus riders. My little icon are the people waiting for the bus here in the shelter.
Brad, how did those 94, how were they identified when they got on the bus? Did they have a card or what on those?
Each month, PSTA would sell the county a 94 transportation disadvantaged bus passes.
Okay.
And they would have those and swipe them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
For $11. But there were 2,000 other clients of Pinellas County, or maybe they weren't even clients back then, but they became, that were already riding the bus and paying us fares either out of their wallet, or in many cases, they weren't paying for their pass a nonprofit, like my logo of St. Vincent de Paul's is showing. But it's not just St. Vincent, there's a whole bunch of nonprofits that were paying their fares. That amounted, on an annual basis, we estimate to be $400,000 in fare box revenue, either from the nonprofits or from the customers.
Hey, Brad, that $20,000, that wasn't a month, right? Was that annually?
That was annually. Again, yeah, I think I have a slide here, but 100, and we bumped it up to 150 for some cushion and assuming some growth. 150 times 11 times 12 is $19,800.
And those, St. Paul, they're $11 TD passes as well.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, in addition, there is a state grant, this TD grant that we get from the state is in the mix here. This problem does not exist, but we were worried because previously we were receiving $2.8 million from the state to subsidize, to help us offset the loss or to provide the $11 discounted pass. Okay, then switching down here to after the UPass program with the county exists. And I've shaded the county logo a little light shade of blue there to represent the blue column. Now 3,500 people are riding for $20,000 in revenue to PSTA. These folks have shifted over, and more people have learned about it and signed on. And we're not receiving any funds from the customers, and we are receiving less funds from the nonprofits. Their buying trend has shifted now that thanks to the county providing their same clients with this free transportation.
One question real quick. On the Pinellas County, that's 100% of, how do they qualify? Isn't there a different qualifying number for the county versus the St. Paul to Vincent de Paul?
Yes.
So that shouldn't be 0, 0. I mean, there's probably something in there.
Well, that yes. We have more than 2,000 people a month buying the Transportation Disadvantage Pass. So
150% of poverty.
it's 150%. I'm fairly certain that I know the county's program includes all those people because it's at 100% or below. And I think most of the nonprofits like St. Vincent de Paul are probably all qualify as well.
So you feel pretty good about that being a $0 number in the second scenario because they are all under 100% probably as well.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But like I said, now that we have switched out, now that we are counting the Transportation Disadvantage passes for these 3,500 people, this concern about losing grant revenue because we weren't able to track the ridership has been averted. And so we're not going to lose any funds. Now that we're tracking the Transportation Disadvantage riders, these folks, in that way, we have more than enough trips to qualify for the full $2.8 million. So that's a good thing. The challenge really is this loss of $400,000 in nonprofit revenue the PSTA was receiving or the riders paying cash. This is a slide that essentially shows the history of purchases by the county health department for TD passes. And if you look down this list, it averages 94 per month. This is how we priced the program. It was very consistent. The most was 131, and it went down to 67. Very consistent. And then one time, at the very end of August, they bought this 10,000 day passes, 1,007 day passes for $56,000. They put that in at the very end of the year. We questioned the county and said, whoa, if these are additional people, we need to reprice this deal before we sign it. And the response was, no, these are for different people. Now, fast forward to today, all those people are riding the bus. They got the blue card too. Everybody got the blue card. But we took the 94 and increased it to 150, multiplied it by $11 a month times 12 months and got $20,000. This chart shows the impact of the program on other nonprofits buying bus passes from us and paying us $11 from their budgets. You can see in the last 3 months, it's started to go down. In August, only 180 were purchased, when it's been averaging 600 to 500 passes a month. And that is an effect of the fact that these same clients are clients of the nonprofits and the county health department. PSTA didn't in the past track specifically the county blue card ridership. We counted it. We do track overall UPass ridership, and so we counted the trips taken by showing the blue card just in the same way we counted St. Pete College students and P-Tech students. But what is remarkable is the consistency in which St. Pete College students and USF St. Pete students and the other folks have been riding. It's really stayed right around 50,000 a month, whether school's in session or not. They have been humming along here, and then you can see about 200,000 trips by these riders that got the blue card this summer. They ride more often, and there's obviously many more of them. So again, I've been very, very thankful for the working relationship with the county staff that I met over the last month. And we really did, I think, a yeoman's job, PSTA staff, the drivers, the training, a great job in transitioning away from the blue card program to buying regular TD passes. That has worked amazingly well. Now there are 3,000 folks that are getting a TD pass for free and riding the bus and swiping it, and we're tracking that data. We had a meeting on August 12th with Pinellas County Human Service staff, and they proposed an arrangement where they would essentially make PSTA whole and agree to pay us. They would propose to the county commission to pay $400,000 to PSTA. Then on September 8th, we went back to the county, and they said that deal was no longer possible, that they did not have the funds. They could not pay us the $400,000 to make us whole, and that they thought that they would like to stay at the $20,000 level. Last week, on the day of our budget hearing, September 15th, they sent us a letter saying they expected PSTA to continue the $20,000 agreement at least through the end of the year. So we have now assumed in the budget that we presented to you last week and then next week again, that we are not going to recoup the lost revenue that we incurred this summer from all these new people riding and not paying us. That's estimated to be $140,000. I have had meetings with the 4 county commissioners that are on PSTA's board and had some discussions with Pinellas County staff looking for a possible middle ground or solution that might be possible to keep some level of this program moving forward. We have proposed an idea. The county has not agreed to this yet, but it's perhaps a compromise solution to move forward. Changing the program no longer to a UPass program, but keeping it as a transportation disadvantaged bus pass program like it is, but capping it at 3,000. A hard cap on 3,000 clients, and instead of getting a monthly TD pass for $11, they get a 10-day pass for $5. $5 paid for by the county. We think, based on talking to the county staff, that if their intent is to make sure people have transportation access to health appointments, 10 days a month can get most of their clients to necessary health appointments and get their prescriptions, etc. And then we would offer those 3,000 clients, it would be their choice. They can pay $6 of their own money and upgrade their 10 days to the full 31 days. So $5 from the county for 10, maybe $6 additional from the customer equals $11 for the full month. PSTA then PSTA's budget breaks even, and the total cost to the county is not 400,000 anymore, it's around 180,000. So that's an idea that we've shared with the county staff, and I have a meeting with the county administrator on Monday. I'm going to share that with him and see if there's a way in which we can work together forward. Let me just finish that. This is my last slide. The other idea that we have is that and I know that Commissioner Gerard, who has a background in nonprofits, has encouraged this to me, is that we work with the county to go to the nonprofits, to the nonprofit organizations, and say, hey, we want to work together with you. We don't necessarily want you to just zero out transportation from your budgets and put it on to one of the other parties. We think we should work, all three of us together. That there's a role for the nonprofits to fund transportation for their clients. PSTA wants to provide that service, and the county wants to play a role too. But not this, okay, put it all on the county's back instead of the nonprofits, but go together in that fact, and hopefully the county will agree to work with us on that. So Commissioner Scott, you had a question?
Okay, Commissioner Wheeler.
Thank you. Brad, so can a client get the 10-day passes at only once per month? What after those 10 days, they go back to the county and say, well, instead of buying or upgrading with $6,
You can only get the 10-day pass once every 31 days.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brad, maybe I'm not following the bouncing ball correctly here, but why does the county even need to be involved in this? It seems like they sort of screwed it up and we're left holding the bag now. I mean, why can't they just refer the clients to the CTC, which is PSTA, and let PSTA qualify the clients, whether they're TD or not, and let just PSTA just handle the situation, just keep the county out of it. I'm not even sure why they even need to be involved in the situation going forward. Can we just pull them out of the equation?
I think that is correct. The county does not need to be involved. PSTA offers the $11 Transportation Disadvantage Pass. We have a whole qualification system that Ross manages. It was their choice, just like it is Goodwill and St. Vincent de Paul and all these other nonprofits' choice to purchase passes on behalf of their clients. And before this program exploded this summer, they were just like the other ones, buying a relatively small number of passes for a certain group of clients. Right. That was their choice, and it still is their choice. If they don't want to put any money into it, I'm sure many of these people will find the way to come up with $11, and they will buy the pass like they were before the summertime. But there are people, obviously, and these are the lowest income people of our community. It's tough for them to come up with even $11. So the county staff saw the need to expand transportation to get folks to health programs, and it's really up to them. But we can handle it if they choose not to go down this road. We will continue the contract. We will implement the clauses in the contract to right-size the program. Say, well, it's got to be 3,000 now. It's not 100. And if they choose not to do it, then we'll run the contract out, and then we'll just go back to selling the passes to the customer.
And our contract ends the end of this year?
It ends September 30th. There is a 90-day notice clause. So theoretically, we sent them notice that we intended to perhaps cancel the contract on September 8th, the day of that meeting where they told us that they couldn't come up with the money. And so that would go till December 8th. So effectively, it goes to the end of the year because everyone would have bought their pass on December. They would have gotten a free pass on December 1st. So that's what the $140,000 loss is assuming, is that it runs until at least December.
Yeah, in the contract, there is at the end was some sort of a deal to right-size any discrepancies, so that if we went significantly over 20,000, they'd do that, or we went under 20,000, and we'd give them some sort of a response? Is that correct, what the right size thing was at the end of the contract?
Yeah, I think the minimum was 20,000. I don't think, and it's not really relevant now, but I mean, I don't think there was really a way that it could have been less than 20. But it clearly was there a reconciliation at the end of the year to allow a right sizing of it based on the usage.
Yeah.
And so we're at the end of the year now. If we implement that clause, we will say, well, there's 3,500 people instead of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why is it we're not doing that?
We are planning on doing that.
We said we have 3,500 that wrote, and we want to be paid for that?
Yes, I mean, we have asked them to be paid for it.
And they said no.
Correct. They said no. They said, we have a $20,000 agreement that goes at least until September 30th, plus 90 days, and so they want us to stay within that agreement.
So we're right size at the end of the 90 days?
Well, our position is we right size it on the end of the contract, which is September 30th. And we go to maybe this compromise level program.
But basically, they're saying we're not going to give you the money.
Well, they said on September 8th that they weren't going to give us $400,000. They could not come up with that level of funding, but perhaps, I don't know, some level like 180, which I'm proposing here, or maybe some level of program can continue. We'll just have to see.
And we haven't gotten it to yet, but the third part that you had in the presentation that shows who is working, who is not, how the presentations came back and forth. And it seems like all along that there was a dialogue between us and the county saying, yeah, we want another 300, we need 5, we need this. But it wasn't until they actually came up and did something with the blue card, or the thing on the passes, that we really got into this. And so it seems somewhere all the way along we were doing about the same thing, and all of a sudden they said they came up with these huge passes. And what happened with the passes? Who decided to all of a sudden put the thing on the passes so that they got this? That seems to be where the mistake was, and it seemed all along everybody else was thinking it was going to be done.
Well, they changed the plan. They did buy the 500 stickers, but then they came up with a way to just print them on the card,
Yeah,
so they could be printed on the card.
But
So
putting on the card,
But like I was saying, there does seem to be some evidence of emails and correspondence in the April-May timeframe that a change in scope had been made by the county staff, or new county staff that was involved, different than how the program had originated, but maybe there were some signs that PSTA should have caught that there was, this different game plan about to
when they
hit.
printed the card, that was when we got the problem. And nobody knew the card was coming until it was there.
Well, no, we knew that they were trying to unroll a card program. We knew that. That was in the plan. We just thought it was only about 150 folks were going to have eligible to ride the bus.
One quick question. Okay. The third group, the third partner to list are all of the 501c3s that are out there that have been providing those passes, and those folks kind of left and went to the county. Are we incorporating those groups back into this solution? Are they now going to reassume some of those costs of those bus passes, or how is that working? Are we getting it back to the right?
Well, they're going to have to, because.
Well, I mean, yeah. We think that they will.
According to this plan that you're talking about, it will be. It's a compromise plan that they're coming up with. I'm not saying we're there yet. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So under this scenario, those folks would still have passes. And they would be coming from you guys and from the county. not that other group of partners.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, that's why I really hope that we can go with the county to them, and maybe they either help fund this compromise program, put some money into this compromise program, or they, if they want, they can pay the $6 upgrade on behalf of the clients. Some kind of three-way partnership rather than a two-way deal.
I hadn't heard much of the third partnership group in the discussion. That's why I was asking, so I'll make sure that that's.
Actually, is this the finance committee meeting?
Yeah, we're trying to finish up, we're running a little late. Can I ask a quick question here?
This is on the planning committee.
Let's assume we resolve the financial issues. The other issue is, what's the impact of having 3,000 new people riding the buses? What is going to be?
But are there 3,000 new people riding buses? Or
Thank you,
the
Pat.
same people that were already
Thank you,
riding
Pat.
buses?
There are some new ones, but most of them were already riding.
They're not
Yeah.
new.
Most of them were already riding.
All right.
They're being
And if I could just say, for the sake of clarity, the difference between the blue passes and the TD passes that they were either buying or being given before is the blue passes were good for a year. And the TD passes are good for either a week or a month, not free transportation for a year. That's a lot. And I think there was kind of a miscalculation in there about what that was worth or what it was going to cost.
During the summer, it does, from anecdotal evidence I've personally seen, what we've seen is the word of mouth is out there, and new, probably existing riders that were paying either with cash, full fare, or maybe getting a TV pass, heard about the blue card. And the blue card got out there. Many folks did not necessarily view it as a health card. They viewed it as a bus pass, a bus pass. And they traded them with their friends or sold them. They threw them on the ground in a very different way. But, I mean, that's at our terminals all the time with regular paper bus passes. You see those on the ground, too. It just really changed in unexpected ways as we...
Well, and frankly, I think the UPass was that this population was not a good application for UPass, period.
Correct. I completely agree.
Because it's
and
not the same as giving them all out to SBC students or, a company who has maybe 5% of their people who ride the bus to work.
Yeah.
This was 100% of these people use the bus to get wherever they need to go. So it's not a good application.
However, the bottom line is we lost
400 grand.
400 grand.
We lost 140.
We lost 140.
People alive on not losing the 400.
And there's still quite a lot of discussion to be had between the county and PSTA staff about what is a reasonable agreement to come to. It's not gonna be 800,000 and it's not gonna be 20,000.
Mr. Chair, do you want to say?
No, it's a joint meeting, right? So,
You're gonna take over.
yeah.
Okay.
We have a joint item. This has sort of become a joint item, but we have an official joint item, which is the St. Pete Beach agreement
Right.
to cover. We can
Let's-
just move on to that within the finance committee, and the planning committee members can join us. I don't know if there's anybody else here.
I'm going to suggest that we read the reports on our own, because we're already
Yeah.
7 minutes into the
Yeah.
other meeting. So I apologize to you, Mr. Chair, for running behind.
First world problem.
We had a really exciting issue that we're going to be talking about next week, that is going to take a little bit of time.
All righty.
God, I hope it's good.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll continue on now with the joint meeting.
So Heather Sobush is going to just update the two committees on the schedule and plan for working with the city of St. Pete Beach to have them pay for the bus rapid transit line. Take it away.
Okay, so this is an informational item on the agreement that we've been drafting for St. Pete Beach to contribute toward the BRT project. Last month, I presented to the committees and the board that both the technical analysis and the public outreach are really directing us toward St.